Welcome back to my world. This is a reading of Spiritual Cannabis, my new book, which you can find on Campton.live. It's how to use yoga and cannabis together to essentially raise your spiritual enlightenment. This is a look at what you can find in there. So let's jump right into it. Hello there, my name is Campton, and I've been using cannabis to enhance my spirituality for nearly 8 years. I was very fortunate to be able to begin using cannabis at the apex of my lifelong existential depression and incorporate it into my budding spiritual practice in a healthy way. Education and the American job space completely failed me, having to drop out of high school due to suicidality and quit my job for similar reasons. So when I was finally able to decide to pursue my health, I was already oriented properly to my life-changing meeting with cannabis. My hero mother was pivotal in her respect and honor for my practice and the acknowledgement that my efforts were fruitful despite no formal education. These teachings are dedicated to her. My initial fascination with cannabis came from the fact that I seemed to be better at things and learn more quickly when under its effects. I began seeing tangible results in my hobbies and creative work endeavors. I became inquisitive as to how this could be and began investigating both ancient and modern sciences surrounding cannabis. I was blessed with an initial realization that I could replicate this state of mind when not using the medicine, for it only seemed to greatly encourage ways of thinking and emotional relaxation. Cannabis would encourage rapid and mind-blowing realizations into anything that I was thinking about. Ideas, as some like to call them. This phenomenon is due to increased neuroplasticity and the heightened activity of the brain, as well as merging with the intelligence of Gaia. I realized that my intentions were the guiding force here, the stemming point for the creation of any idea or understanding. My obsession became micro-exercises and fine skill training. It seemed that each of my practiced repetitions was many more times evolutionary than when sober. The core of my understanding of any skill was that it was the creation of neurology in my nervous system through repetition. The strength of this electrical activity is the sensitivity of information, the thickness of neurology, and our concentration or focus. As I began to relentlessly contemplate this, I concluded that my concept of an identity was as well circuitry in the brain substantiated through repetition, a habit of interpreting myself in a certain way, and invoking the many emotions that stem from that. I began to see meditation as a sort of practice to incur many more mental repetitions of contemplation to substantiate understandings of reality. It was merely the questioning of what I was, who I was, and what I needed to do that began to do the work. Naturally, cannabis helped accelerate this process of understanding through ideas. The physical location of a concept of understanding is in our neural circuitry. The more that we contemplate a similar subject, the more connections we create in this new part of our brain. Mindfulness is essentially our ability to integrate and incur the repetition of a new self over time. The intelligence of the earth, found in this substance, is vastly more intelligent than the narrative we cast upon ourselves and the worldview that we create to describe our experience of life. Our experience of life is merely an iota of what is possible in the grand landscape of infinity, and is merely a subjective interpretation at the end of the day. We experience the truth. The truth can be daunting and have implications for the way that we conduct ourselves, potentially bringing up our pain on a habitual basis and creating an identity from that emotional matrix. This is why acceptance and meditation are crucial. We need to surrender to an intelligence that is attempting to heal us through the forced facing of our pain and the cleansing of our physical form. My experience with cannabis was initially anxiety and paranoia inducing, but because I had an initial suspicion of the intelligence and healing nature of this plant, I saw it as a training ground to develop my mindfulness and meditation practice. I was able to use my breath to calm down my nervous system and understand my thoughts, more clearly directing them into productive introspection. Cannabis accelerated my developmental understanding of the ego self and the great self. I realized that this awareness was what witnessed my brain and influenced it, and was being influenced by it. I gradually rested within that awareness to initiate profound emotional healing and the disconnection from pain as a source of my identity. I also have experienced the sweeping breadth of negative effects, such as REM deprivation, depleted motivation, diet concerns, mental fog, mild psychosis, and other trickle-down effects. My first enlightened experience with cannabis was lying down on my bed during meditation. I was asking in my head over and over again, who am I? Where is this, consciousness, coming from? It felt like I was beginning to find the answer, and then suddenly, my mental identification with the body seemed to evaporate. I was able to have an advanced awareness of my psychology and emotions from then on. It was like I was permanently mindful. I firmly realized that there is always a step before we react to something in the world, and that reaction becomes a part of our identity and cyclically creates the emotions that we logically connotate to it. Cannabis forced everything out that wasn't the truth of my mind and body, heavily illuminating as the only way that would help me. Pure truth, light, and wisdom. In this guide, we will explore my methodology, backed by ancient and modern sciences. You will learn how to healthily integrate cannabis into your spiritual practice, avoiding the deleterious effects associated with certain stigmas found in society.